The swamp was quiet, but the Marines knew better. Somewhere hidden in the thick tangle of reeds and murky water lurked a sniper, one who had already taken down 2 men from their unit without warning. Sergeant Lisa Shadow Ramirez crouched low, the weight of her rifle steady in her hands. She scanned the foggy expanse, her breath steady despite the pounding in her chest. The others whispered orders, but no one could find the ghost who was stalking them. Suddenly, a sharp crack split the air. A young Marine fell to the ground, clutching his chest, eyes wide with shock. The panic spread like wildfire. "Sniper! Find the sniper!" The squad leader shouted, voice rough and urgent. The swamp seemed to swallow the echoes of their cries, as if it conspired with the invisible enemy. Lisa's mind sharpened. This wasn't just any sniper. Whoever it was had mastered the art of invisibility in the swamp's unforgiving landscape. She thought back to her training, how to read the smallest signs, a broken twig, a disturbed patch of mud, the slightest shimmer on water. But the swamp was alive with movement. Every leaf and ripple was a potential trap. "Move out, keep low and silent," Lisa ordered, voice calm but commanding. Her team obeyed, their boots sinking into the wet earth, every step a calculated risk. The sun barely pierced the thick canopy overhead, casting shifting shadows that played tricks on the eyes. She knew the sniper was watching, waiting for the perfect moment. Memories flickered unbidden. Her mother, a legendary covert operative during the Cold War, who once vanished into similar terrain on a mission that was never fully explained. Lisa had grown up hearing whispers about that mission, about ghosts that never returned. Was she chasing one now? Her earpiece crackled, breaking the momentary silence. "Shadow, this is Bravo. We have movement near the old watchtower. Coordinates 3257. Repeat, movement at 3257. The watchtower was a dilapidated structure half swallowed by vines, a relic from a long-forgotten conflict. If the sniper used it as a perch, they were dangerously close. Lisa nodded silently, signaling her team to fan out. The swamp swallowed their footprints, but it also muffled their voices, turning even whispers into distant sounds. They reached the tower's base. Lisa scanned upward, her rifle's scope catching a flash of something metallic, an edge of a scope, the glint of a barrel. Her heart hammered. "Contact," she breathed. She steadied her breathing, recalling every detail from her sniper training: control, patience, precision. She adjusted her scope, aiming at the faint silhouette perched high above. Before she could squeeze the trigger, a second shot rang out from the opposite side of the swamp. Another Marine fell, pain twisting his face as he hit the ground. The sniper was not just hidden. It was everywhere. Lisa's team scrambled for cover, returning fire blindly into the thicket. She scanned again, trying to pinpoint the sniper's next move. The ghost had an almost supernatural ability to vanish before she could be pinned down. "Get that medic drone up now," Lisa ordered. "We can't afford more casualties." The drone hummed to life, lifting quietly above the swamp canopy. Its thermal sensors scanned the murky depths below, hunting for the invisible threat. Lisa felt the weight of her responsibility settle heavily on her shoulders. Every second counted. The sniper was patient, calculating, and deadly. The swamp was no longer just a battlefield. It was a maze of fear and survival. Her mind flickered back to her father's words, the general who had always doubted her abilities, warning her that the military was no place for someone who had to prove herself every day. She pushed the thought away. This mission was her chance to show what she was made of. Suddenly, the drone beeped, a heat signature moving slowly through the reeds. Lisa motioned to her team, signaling them to close in, careful not to disturb the terrain too much. The sniper was somewhere nearby, her ghostly presence almost tangible. "Stay sharp," Lisa whispered. "We're closing in." The swamp grew thicker, the air heavier with humidity and tension. The sound of insects, buzzing, and distant water splashing was the only soundtrack to their deadly game of cat and mouse. Then, a sudden movement caught Lisa's eye, a flicker of a ghillie suit disappearing behind a fallen tree trunk. She raised her rifle, finger tightening on the trigger. Her training kicked in. Exhale slowly, hold steady, and fire. The shot cracked through the silence, a perfect mark. But when Lisa approached the spot, the sniper was gone. No trace, no tracks, nothing but disturbed leaves. The ghost had slipped away again. Frustration gnawed at Lisa, but she refused to give in. The sniper's skill was undeniable. This was no ordinary enemy. It was a soldier who knew the swamp's secrets intimately, someone with a personal vendetta. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch like fingers across the swamp. The Marines regrouped, tending to the wounded, their faces grim but determined. Lisa looked toward the darkening horizon, knowing that this hunt had only just begun. The ghost in the swamp was out there, watching, waiting, and Sergeant Ramirez was ready to find her no matter the cost. Lisa sat alone beside the flickering campfire, the swamp's thick humidity clinging to her skin. The night was heavy with sounds, the distant croak of frogs, the buzz of mosquitoes, and the faint rustle of leaves. Yet her mind was elsewhere, tangled in memories that felt as murky as the swamp itself. She stared into the flames, letting their orange glow wash over her face as she thought about the woman she barely knew. Her mother. Her mother had been a legend in the shadows of the Cold War. A covert operative. Skilled in infiltration and espionage, she had vanished on a mission much like this one, deep in terrain where the enemy could strike unseen. No official records detailed what happened, just whispers of betrayal and ghosts left behind. Lisa grew up haunted by those stories. The woman who raised her was a hero to some, a mystery to many, and a ghost to the military. She pulled a small, faded photograph from her pocket, a black and white portrait of her mother in uniform. Eyes sharp, lips pressed in determination. It was the only tangible connection to a past filled with sacrifice and secrets. Lisa had always felt the weight of her family's legacy pressing on her shoulders. Her father, a high-ranking general, had never truly accepted her path. "The military isn't a place for softness," he once told her. "You have to be harder than the men to survive." But Lisa had chosen to prove him wrong. Her training had been rigorous, filled with moments where she questioned if she was enough. The weight of carrying a rifle in a male-dominated field, the long hours perfecting her marksmanship, and the endless drills in hostile environments had forged her into a sniper known as Shadow. Now, in this swamp, those skills were put to the ultimate test. Her team had trusted her, but the ghost sniper lurking nearby was more than a threat. She was a puzzle. The precision of each shot, the ability to disappear without a trace. It spoke of someone who had been through similar battles. Someone who understood the silent war fought in shadows and silence. Lisa's thoughts were interrupted by the low hum of the radio. "Shadow, this is Command. New intel has come through. The sniper's style matches a defector from a Special Forces unit disbanded years ago. Female operative. Cold, precise. Trained in survival and guerrilla tactics. They believe she's using knowledge from old conflicts, something your mother's unit once encountered." The words hit Lisa hard. The past wasn't just a memory. It was bleeding into the present. She pictured the ghost sniper as more than an enemy, a reflection of her own history, a living reminder of a war she thought she'd left behind. As dawn broke, the swamp transformed from a place of lurking shadows into a harsh landscape of heat and light. The squad gathered for mission planning, maps spread across a makeshift table. Satellite images showed the labyrinth of waterways and dense foliage that made tracking their quarry nearly impossible. Lisa traced her finger along the routes, analyzing the sniper's known movements. "She knows this terrain better than we do," Lisa said. "Our advantage is teamwork and technology. We need to anticipate her moves, cut off escape routes, and force her into the open." The team nodded, their faces set with determination. Private First Class Jamie, one of the few women in the unit, handled the medic drone. She had flown it on dozens of missions, but this one was critical. The drone's thermal imaging would scan areas the team couldn't reach safely. It was their eyes in the swamp's deadliest corners. Hours later, under the blistering sun, the Marines advanced cautiously, each step measured and deliberate. The mud sucked at their boots, and the thick humidity made every breath laborious. Lisa's eyes darted constantly through her scope, searching for any sign, a flicker of movement, a reflection, a misplaced leaf. Suddenly, the crack of a rifle shot split the air again. A shout rang out. Corporal Jenkins went down, clutching his side. Panic surged through the unit, but Lisa's voice cut through the chaos. "Hold your positions! Medic drone, get here fast!" Jamie maneuvered the drone with steady hands, sending it low over the marsh, its sensors scanning the tangled undergrowth. The live feed revealed a heat signature moving slowly along the edge of a fallen log. Lisa's heart raced. "The sniper was close. Cover me," Lisa ordered. She moved forward, every muscle alert. Her mind went back to her mother's stories of stalking prey in hostile terrain, relying on patience and instinct. This was the moment to channel that legacy, to outwit a ghost with the past in her veins. As she approached the heat signature, the air seemed to still. The sniper was waiting, but Lisa was ready. A bullet zipped past her shoulder, kicking up mud nearby. Lisa fired back, the recoil steady, the shot precise. The figure vanished, melting into the swamp as if swallowed by the shadows. Her breath came in sharp bursts, but her resolve hardened. This was more than a mission now. It was a test of everything her family had taught her: courage, sacrifice, and the relentless pursuit of truth in a world where shadows never truly disappear. That night, Lisa sat again by the fire, the photo of her mother pressed against her chest. Somewhere out there, the ghost sniper was still watching. But Lisa was no longer just chasing a shadow. She was becoming one. The swamp whispered secrets, but Lisa was ready to listen. The swamp was unforgiving, every step a struggle through mud and thick undergrowth. The Marines moved cautiously, their senses stretched thin, eyes scanning for any sign of movement. Sergeant Lisa Ramirez led the way, her rifle poised, every nerve alert. The sniper had already claimed 2 lives, and no one knew when she would strike next. The tension was suffocating. Suddenly, a sharp crack shattered the heavy silence. Corporal Jenkins fell, clutching his side, pain twisting his face. Chaos erupted as the team scrambled for cover. "Medic, we need a medic!" someone yelled. But the dense swamp made reaching Jenkins almost impossible. The thick mud sucked at their boots, and every second counted. Lisa's voice cut through the panic. "Jamie, get that medic drone in the air now!" "We can't lose him!" Jamie, the unit's drone operator and one of the few women in the team, nodded grimly. Her hands moved quickly over the controls as the small drone hummed to life, lifting quietly into the humid air. Its thermal sensors scanned the treetops and underbrush, searching for the invisible enemy. The team held their breath as the drone's live feed flickered on the handheld monitor. A heat signature appeared near the fallen log where the sniper had last been spotted. Lisa signaled the team to tighten their perimeter, closing in slowly but cautiously. "We're closing in," Lisa whispered, every muscle tense. She recalled her sniper training: patience, control, precision. The sniper was watching, waiting for the perfect moment to strike again. The swamp was her ally, hiding her from sight, feeding her silence. Lisa's mind flashed back to the stories her mother once told her about similar hunts in the Cold War. How enemies blended into the shadows, how trust was a luxury soldiers couldn't afford. This wasn't just about bullets. It was about outsmarting a ghost who had survived in the wild for years. Suddenly, a bullet zipped past Lisa's shoulder, kicking up mud at her feet. She barely had time to react before returning fire. The sniper was close, too close. Lisa scanned frantically but saw nothing. The ghost had vanished again. "Stay sharp," she ordered, her voice steady despite the rush of adrenaline. "We're dealing with someone who knows this terrain better than we do." The Marines fanned out, moving slowly through the dense swamp. The heat was oppressive, sweat dripping into Lisa's eyes as she crawled low through the muck. Her fingers brushed against a crushed leaf, an almost invisible sign of movement. The sniper was clever, but Lisa was relentless. Hours dragged on. The sun beat down, sapping their energy, but Lisa refused to let fatigue dull her senses. She thought about her father's words, how he never believed she could be as tough as the men. This mission was more than a fight against an enemy. It was a fight to prove herself, to honor her mother's legacy. A sudden movement caught Lisa's eye, a shadow slipping behind a fallen tree. She raised her rifle slowly, heart pounding. The sniper was there, watching, waiting. Lisa took a deep breath and fired. The shot echoed through the swamp. The sniper disappeared again, leaving behind only disturbed leaves and a fading heat signature on the drone's screen. Frustration bubbled inside Lisa, but she knew this was just the beginning. As dusk fell, the team regrouped near a small clearing. The wounded were tended to, faces grim but determined. Lisa felt the weight of responsibility heavy on her shoulders. Every life lost was a blow, but giving up was not an option. Jamie approached, her face set with determination. The drone picked up another signature further east. "She's moving," Lisa nodded. "We'll follow, but this time we set the trap." The plan was risky but necessary. They would use the drone to bait the sniper, forcing her into the open where the team could surround her. The swamp would no longer be a hiding place. It would be their battlefield. Night fell, and the swamp transformed into a dark maze. The only light came from the drone's thermal glow and the occasional flash of gunfire. Lisa moved like a shadow herself, every sense tuned to the smallest sound. Suddenly, the sniper fired again. Lisa's team returned fire, and the swamp exploded with the noise of battle. In the chaos, Lisa spotted a figure darting between the trees, a glimpse of the ghost she had hunted for days. She chased after her, pushing through the mud, ignoring the exhaustion. The sniper was fast, but Lisa was faster. They reached a narrow stream where the water ran dark and slow. The sniper paused, turning to face Lisa. Their eyes met, two soldiers shaped by war and loss. The sniper's face was grim, hardened by years of survival. Lisa saw in her a reflection of herself, determined, relentless, haunted. "Why are you doing this?" Lisa demanded, keeping her rifle trained on the woman. The sniper's voice was low, almost a whisper. "Because this war never ended. It's personal." Before Lisa could respond, the sniper vanished again into the swamp's shadows, leaving behind only silence. Breathing heavily, Lisa knew this was far from over. The ghost in the swamp was not just an enemy. It was a reminder of battles fought in the dark, sacrifices made in silence, and the cost of survival. As dawn approached, Lisa looked toward the horizon, ready to face whatever came next. The hunt had become a test of wills, and she was determined to win, no matter the cost. The swamp held its breath as Sergeant Lisa Ramirez stared through her scope, eyes locked on the shifting shadows. The sniper's moves were deliberate, almost methodical. Each shot was a signature, a deadly message etched into the thick air. Lisa's heart pounded as she traced the pattern, the invisible enemy's rhythm slowly revealing itself. This wasn't random. It was a hunt within a hunt. Her fingers tightened on the rifle's grip as she adjusted her scope to the muddy ground where the last shot had landed. Bullet casings glinted faintly in the low light, scattered like clues across the swamp floor. Each spent round told a story, angles, distances, time. Lisa's mind raced, piecing together the sniper's tactics. Whoever this ghost was, she had a deep understanding of this terrain and was an expert in guerrilla warfare. The drone's feed crackled softly in her earpiece. Jamie's voice was steady. "Thermal signatures moving south following the waterline near the old railway track. Looks like she's trying to circle back to the swamp's heart." Lisa nodded, even though Jamie couldn't see her. The sniper was playing a deadly game of cat and mouse, weaving through the landscape like a phantom. Lisa signaled the squad to tighten the perimeter. Boots sank deep into the soft earth as they moved with practiced silence. The air was thick with humidity, the smell of decay and earth heavy on their skin. The swamp was alive, buzzing insects, croaking frogs, and distant calls of unseen animals. But underneath there was a sinister stillness, like the world was waiting for the next strike. Lisa thought back to her mother's stories, tales of long hunts during the Cold War where every shadow could hide an enemy. The past and present were converging here, tangled in the mud and water. She had to be sharper, faster, better. The sniper's movements formed a pattern. Lisa mapped it in her mind. Strike from the south, vanish into the reeds, then reappear near the old railway embankment. The enemy was familiar with old military structures, an indication of training in special operations. This wasn't a random killer. This was a soldier who had survived countless battles, hardened by years of fighting in silence. Lisa crouched low, scanning the tree line. Her breath was steady despite the adrenaline pumping through her veins. She adjusted her scope's zoom, catching a faint glint, metal reflecting light from a scope's lens. Her heart raced. There she was. The sniper was poised, waiting for the perfect moment. Lisa's fingers moved instinctively. She remembered every lesson. Breathe slowly, aim steady, squeeze gently. The shot cracked like thunder. The enemy moved, disappearing into the swamp's thick foliage. Lisa ordered her team to advance carefully, but the sniper was already gone, like smoke blown by the wind. Frustration gnawed at Lisa, but she kept her focus. This ghost wasn't just hunting Marines. She was sending a message. The sniper's skill was undeniable, a mirror to Lisa's own precision and training. The drone buzzed nearby, scanning ahead. Jamie's voice broke the silence again. "I've got another heat signature near the old pumping station." "It's moving fast. Could be the sniper or a decoy." Lisa made a quick decision. 2 teams. One to flank from the east, one from the west. "Jamie, keep the drone over the center to track movement." "No mistakes." The Marines split, moving silently through the swamp. The tangled branches scratched at their faces, the mud threatening to swallow their boots. Every sound was amplified. The crack of a twig, the rustle of leaves, the faint splash of water. Lisa led her team along the eastern route, eyes sharp, senses heightened. The weight of responsibility pressed on her. Each step brought them closer to confrontation, closer to the ghost who haunted their every move. Suddenly, a distant explosion rocked the swamp. The Western team had triggered a hidden trap, a cleverly disguised patch of swamp gas and debris. The blast sent mud and water flying, shaking the earth beneath their feet. The sniper was nearby, setting the stage for chaos. Lisa's team pushed forward, adrenaline surging. They moved faster now, hearts pounding, every sense screaming danger. The sniper was close, too close. In the chaos, Lisa spotted a faint trail. A broken branch bent unnaturally, footprints leading to a small clearing. She signaled her team to hold. Quiet as the night, they moved forward, rifles raised. There, in the clearing, they found signs of recent occupation. Spent shells, a makeshift campfire site, disturbed earth. The sniper had been there. The ghost was watching them, leaving traces to taunt, to challenge. Lisa knelt, examining the evidence. Her mind raced. Who was this woman? What drove her to such lengths? The sniper was more than an enemy. She was a symbol of war's scars, a living reminder of sacrifice and betrayal. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows that stretched like fingers across the swamp. Lisa stood, resolve hardening like steel. The hunt was far from over. The ghost was out there, waiting, watching. But Lisa was ready. Every shot, every movement had brought her closer to the truth. The sniper's pattern was unraveling, and soon, the ghost would face the consequences of her deadly game. As night fell, the swamp whispered secrets in the dark. Lisa listened, her heart steady. This was more than a mission. It was a reckoning, and the ghost would not escape forever. The moon hung low over the swamp, casting eerie silver light through the tangled canopy. Sergeant Lisa Ramirez crouched behind a fallen log, her breath slow and measured. Every sound was amplified in the still night. The drip of water, the rustle of leaves, even the faintest whisper of wind. Somewhere in this labyrinth of shadows, the sniper was waiting. Lisa's pulse quickened as she reviewed the mission so far, the days spent navigating the swamp, the lost lives, the relentless hunt. This ghost was no ordinary enemy. She was a ghost because she had mastered the art of invisibility, a shadow carved from years of survival and pain. And Lisa was determined to end this. Her radio crackled. "Shadow, this is Bravo. We've located a possible extraction point near the East Ridge. Intel suggests the sniper may be heading there." Lisa's eyes narrowed. The East Ridge was a steep incline, covered in dense brush, but it offered a vantage point over the entire swamp. "Copy that. Lisa replied. "We're moving in." The squad split, moving with silent precision. The swamp was a maze of mud and water, but the Marines advanced carefully, guided by years of training and instinct. Lisa's focus never wavered. She thought about her mother, a woman who had vanished in similar terrain decades ago, and the legacy of sacrifice that weighed on her own shoulders. As they neared the ridge, Lisa's team slowed. The terrain became rougher, roots twisting like serpents beneath their boots. The night air was thick with tension. They were closing in on the ghost. Suddenly, a faint glint caught Lisa's eye, metal reflecting the moonlight. She froze, raising her rifle slowly. The sniper was perched above, concealed in ghillie suit, her eyes locked on the Marines below. Time seemed to still. Lisa's heart thundered. She knew this moment was critical. The sniper was skilled, patient, and deadly, but Lisa had learned to think like her enemy, to anticipate her moves. The sniper fired. The shot rang out like a crack of thunder. Lisa dove behind a tree as bullets ripped through the brush. The firefight erupted, echoes bouncing through the swamp. Lisa returned fire, her shots precise, controlled. The ghost was elusive, disappearing into the darkness with practiced ease. "Flank left," Lisa shouted. "Cut off her escape!" The team spread out, moving swiftly but cautiously. The swamp was a maze, but Lisa's instincts guided her. She followed the faint sounds, the snap of a twig, the subtle splash of water. Suddenly, Lisa caught a glimpse of movement, a shadow slipping between the trees. She raised her rifle, heart pounding. The sniper was close, but this time Lisa had the advantage. A tense chase ensued, winding through the swamp's tangled undergrowth. The sniper led Lisa toward a narrow channel of water, where the mud was thick and the footing treacherous. The ghost was cornered. Lisa's voice was steady but firm. "It's over. Come out." The sniper hesitated, then slowly emerged from the shadows. It was a woman. Hard-eyed, battle-worn, her face marked by years of hardship. She lowered her weapon reluctantly. "Why are you doing this?" Lisa asked, her voice soft but unwavering. The woman's eyes flashed with pain. "Because the war never ended for me. I lost everything. I'm not the enemy you think I am." Lisa studied her, seeing not just a foe, but a reflection of her own struggle. The sniper's story was etched in the lines of her face, a tale of betrayal, loss, and survival. The radio crackled again. "Shadow, Command wants an update. What's your status?" Lisa took a deep breath. "Target in custody. Beginning extraction." The swamp seemed to exhale as the tension eased. The ghost was no longer a shadow haunting the night, but a woman caught in the crossfire of history and pain. As dawn broke over the swamp, Lisa looked toward the horizon, feeling the weight of what had passed and the promise of what was to come. The mission was over, but the story was far from finished. The first light of dawn filtered weakly through, the dense canopy casting a pale glow over the swamp's murky waters. Sergeant Lisa Ramirez sat beside the captured sniper, her rifle resting across her knees, eyes never leaving the woman's weathered face. The tension between them was thick, forged by days of pursuit, but now softened by exhaustion and the fragile possibility of understanding. The sniper's name was Elena, a name that carried weight far beyond this remote battlefield. As the morning mist curled around them, Elena began to speak, her voice low and steady, a quiet confession in the oppressive stillness. "I didn't choose this life," she said. "I was trained to protect my country, but I was betrayed, left for dead by my own people during a covert operation years ago. They erased me, made me a ghost." Lisa listened intently, the pieces of Elena's story falling into place. The tactics, the precision, the deep knowledge of the swamp. It all made sense now. Elena wasn't just a sniper. She was a survivor, shaped by pain and driven by a desperate need for justice. Elena's eyes flicked to Lisa, searching. "You remind me of someone. Your mother." Lisa's breath caught. Her mother had vanished decades ago, a legend swallowed by secrets and silence. Elena's words felt like a thread connecting past and present, a bridge between two women bound by sacrifice. "I never knew what really happened to her," Lisa admitted. "I've spent my life chasing shadows, hoping to find answers." Elena nodded slowly. "Sometimes the truth is buried in places we fear to look, but it's never truly gone." As the sun climbed higher, the squad gathered around, their faces a mix of relief and wariness. Elena was secured, but calm, her posture still that of a soldier. Lisa's commanding officer approached, eyes sharp but respectful. "Ramirez, what's your assessment?" Lisa glanced at Elena, then back at her team. "She's a product of betrayal and survival. The sniper we hunted is not just an enemy. She's a reminder of the costs of war, the lives lost in silence." The officer nodded thoughtfully. "We'll get her processed, but this mission, it's about more than capturing a sniper. It's about understanding the shadows we fight." That afternoon, as the team packed up their gear, Lisa took a moment to walk through the swamp alone. The water was still, reflecting the sky's shifting hues. She thought about the women she had met, the ghost sniper, her own mother, the medics and soldiers who faced danger every day. Their stories were threads in a larger tapestry of courage and sacrifice. Her radio crackled softly. Jamie's voice came through. "Shadow, there's a message from command. They want you to prepare a report on the mission, including Elena's debrief." Lisa sighed, but felt a surge of determination. This was more than a report. It was a story that needed to be told. That night, as the camp settled into silence, Lisa sat by the fire, the photo of her mother in her hands. Elena's story echoed in her mind, a reminder that war's ghosts were never truly gone. They lived in the hearts of those who survived. The swamp around her seemed less like a place of danger and more like a quiet witness to history. Lisa whispered a silent vow to carry the truth forward, to honor those lost, and to face whatever shadows lay ahead with courage. Because in the end, every soldier's story mattered. Every sacrifice deserved recognition, and every ghost deserved a chance to be heard. The days after the capture of Elena blurred into a whirlwind of debriefings, medical checks, and tense conversations. Sergeant Lisa Ramirez found herself caught between two worlds, the harsh reality of military protocol and the human story that demanded to be told. Elena sat quietly in the makeshift holding area, her sharp eyes following every movement, guarded but not broken. Lisa spent hours with her, peeling back layers of pain and resilience. Elena's story unfolded like a shadowed map of betrayal, loss, and a relentless fight for survival. She had once been a dedicated operative, sent on missions that blurred the lines between friend and foe. When her unit was ambushed in the depths of hostile territory, she was the sole survivor, left to die in silence as the world forgot her existence. Her exile had forged her into a ghost, living off the grid, striking with deadly precision against those she believed responsible for her pain. Every shot fired was a message, an echo of a war no one else remembered but her. Her skill was unmatched because she had nothing left to lose. Lisa felt the weight of Elena's story pressing on her own history, the loss of her mother, the unanswered questions that had shaped her life. There was a strange kinship between them, forged not by allegiance, but by shared sacrifice. One afternoon, as sunlight filtered through the canopy, Lisa's commanding officer entered the tent with a grim expression. "Ramirez, Command has authorized limited communication with Elena. They want to use her knowledge to dismantle hidden networks that have operated in this region for years." Lisa nodded, understanding the delicate balance. Elena's information was invaluable, but trust was fragile. Every word she spoke could tip the scales of an unseen war. The interrogation began, slow and methodical. Elena's answers revealed a web of covert operations, betrayals, and lost comrades. She spoke of secret alliances, corrupt commanders, and the shadow games played in the margins of official conflict. Lisa listened, taking careful notes, feeling the magnitude of what was unfolding. The swamp had become more than a battlefield. It was a crossroads of history, pain, and the possibility of redemption. In the evenings, Lisa found herself drawn to Elena's quiet strength. They shared stories of loss and hope, their conversations bridging the gap between enemies and allies. Elena spoke of her dreams, of peace, of reconciliation, of a future beyond the endless cycle of violence. For Lisa, these moments were a revelation. The enemy was not always what it seemed. Sometimes the greatest battles were fought within, and the hardest victories were those of forgiveness. But the past was never far behind. As Elena's information began to disrupt entrenched networks, whispers of retaliation surfaced. Threats came through back channels, shadowy figures determined to silence the ghost and anyone who stood with her. Lisa's unit tightened security. Every step forward was met with resistance, but the Marines were relentless. They had faced impossible odds before and knew that courage was not the absence of fear, but the will to push through it. One night, as rain hammered the camp, Lisa stood watch alone. The swamp's eerie calls surrounded her, a symphony of life and danger. She thought about the path ahead, uncertain, fraught with peril but necessary. Her radio crackled. Jamie's voice was urgent. Shadow, movement detected near the perimeter. Possible hostile activity! Lisa gripped her rifle, eyes scanning the darkness. The ghost's fight was far from over, but neither was Lisa's. She moved silently toward the sound, heart steady despite the storm. In that moment, she understood what it meant to carry the legacy of those who had gone before, the courage to face the unknown, the strength to protect what mattered, and the hope to believe in something better. The swamp held many secrets, but Lisa Ramirez was ready to face them all, because some ghosts needed to be confronted, not just to survive, but to finally be set free. The rain had soaked the camp, turning the ground to thick mud that clung to boots and gear. Sergeant Lisa Ramirez moved quietly through the dark, the faint glow of her flashlight cutting through the downpour. The night was alive with tension, the kind that prickled at the back of her neck, warning her that danger was close. Her radio whispered urgent reports from the perimeter. Shadow, multiple contacts moving fast. Possible ambush. Lisa's grip tightened on her rifle as she scanned the shadowed tree line. The swamp was no longer just a battleground. It had become a crucible, testing every ounce of skill, courage, and resolve. She thought of Elena, the ghost sniper whose story had upended everything Lisa thought she knew about loyalty and sacrifice. Elena had been more than an enemy. She was a mirror of pain and endurance, a soldier broken by betrayal, but unbroken in spirit. And now, as the night closed in, Lisa knew that the fragile alliance they'd formed would be tested in fire. Suddenly, shapes emerged from the shadows, figures cloaked in darkness, moving swiftly through the thick underbrush. Gunfire erupted, echoing through the swamp like thunder. Lisa dropped into a firing position, returning shots with deadly accuracy. The ambush was fierce and chaotic. Bullets tore through branches, splintered wood, and kicked up clouds of mud. Marines scrambled for cover, shouting orders over the storm's roar. Lisa's heart pounded, her mind sharp and clear despite the chaos. She spotted movement near a fallen tree, a hostile combatant aiming for her squad. Without hesitation, Lisa fired, the shot precise and fatal. Her team pressed forward, pushing the attackers back step by step. Amidst the firefight, Lisa caught sight of Elena moving with lethal grace. The ghost had come to fight alongside her captors, a testament to the trust forged through shared hardship. Together, they coordinated their assault, cutting off enemy escape routes and reclaiming lost ground. The swamp seemed to pulse with the energy of battle, alive with danger and determination. As the last hostile figure retreated into the darkness, a heavy silence fell over the camp. The rain eased, leaving a cold stillness in its wake. Lisa lowered her rifle, muscles trembling from the adrenaline. Her radio crackled again. Command to Shadow, situation contained. Reinforcements en route. Lisa allowed herself a moment to breathe, eyes drifting to Elena. The sniper's face was etched with exhaustion, but also something else. Relief, maybe even hope. In the quiet aftermath, Lisa reflected on how the mission had transformed her. What began as a hunt for a deadly enemy had become a journey through the complexities of war, loyalty, and humanity. Elena's knowledge had dismantled covert networks that threatened countless lives. Her courage in fighting alongside the Marines had shattered old wounds and built a new understanding. The next morning, under a sky clearing of clouds, a ceremony was held. Flags fluttered in the gentle breeze as commanding officers recognized the bravery and sacrifice of those who had faced the swamp's shadows. Lisa stood tall, a medal pinned to her chest, a symbol not just of victory, but of the bonds forged in adversity. Elena stood beside her, no longer a ghost, but a soldier acknowledged for her strength and resilience. As the ceremony ended, Lisa caught a glimpse of the swamp beyond the base, a place of secrets, pain, and now healing. She knew the story wasn't over. War never truly ends, but for the first time she felt a sense of peace, because in facing the ghost, she had found something more: hope. Hope that even in the darkest places, courage and compassion could light the way. And that was a legacy worth fighting for.